Salibonani Makadini tinokugamuchirai muchikamu chedu chekutanga cheAgric Connect. My name is Annette Mtetwa and I will be your host today on this beautiful episode of Agric Connect. Agric Connect is a program that is going to be focused on every single aspect of agriculture. We're going to cover very different topics. We're going to bring to you farmers, we're going to bring to you experts, we're going to bring you different kinds of things that cover the industry of agriculture. Today we're at Juggler Investments, where we're seeing a vast development and vast production of different crops. Today we're going to be focusing on tomato production. Now, tomato is a very lucrative chain of production within the agricultural industry. Seeing that we have 17 hectares of production within this land, it means that we've got a farmer who's figured out that production of tomato can give him his money's worth. Tomato is a very difficult crop to grow according to some farmers, but as you can see here, we have a very clean crop. We have a crop that is disease-free and pest-free. So if a farmer can manage 17 hectares of tomato and keep it this clean, why can't you with just 1 hectare of tomato? In this field, as we can see, we have a very clean crop of tomato. How do you achieve such a crop without losing out on your yield? Tomatoes, for example, looking at this crop that we have here, as you can see that the height of the tomato plant is as much as you will get on the roots. Your roots will grow as high as the tomato plant will be above the crop. So you need to maintain your crop from the ground going upwards. When you're planting your tomato plant, you need to start with a soil sampling analysis. Every crop requires for you to start with a soil sample analysis. This allows for you to know the nutrients that are composed within your soil, and moving forward, which fertilizers and which nutrients you're going to supplement within your soil. With that in mind, you also need to have a spray program in place. It's very important to know what you need to apply in terms of preventatives, in terms of curatives, and in terms of biologicals to keep your crop going well. It is also important to know that it is better to prevent a disease, it is better to prevent a pest from coming in than to control a disease when it has already come in. Sekutsanangura kwandaita nechirungu muchishona tiri kuti domasi redu kuti rikure zvakanaka kuti tiongorore ivhu redu, tione kuti ivhu redu rine manutrients akamira sei. Kana waziva manutrients ari muivhu rako, zvinozokubetsera uchienda mberi kuti uzive kuti uchaisa fertilizer yakaita sei muivhu rako, and then uchienderera mberi wozoziva kuti fertilizer yauchaisa pamusoro inosanganisira mafoliar fertilizers ichisanganisira matop dressing fertilizers inenge yakamira sei. Zvakadaro zvakakosha sevarimi kuti tizive kuti spray program yatichashandisa mudomasi redu inenge yakamira sei. Spray program iyi unofanira kunge uinayo usati watodyara domasi rako. Mishonga yako ngaive panzvimbo usati watanga kudyara domasi rako. NgesiNdebele valimi sithi nxa sufaka itamatisi lakho wobakwazi ukuthi inhlabathi yakho ilama fertilizer, ilama nutrients anjani. Ukuba nxa suhlanyela itamatisi lakho uzathenga ama fertilizer afunakalayo ukuze ungathengi okungafunakaliyo enhlabathini yakho, ubususebenzisa imali yakho ngendlela ezinganelanga. Nxa sukwazi ukuthi ama fertilizer amenjani, oba le spray program eyaneleyo ehambelanayo lokuthi uzabe usebenzisani ukuthi uprevente ama diseases lama pests azabe engena ukutamatisi lakho. Now farmers, let's talk about pruning your tomato plant. We have different types of tomato plants which fall in different segments of the crop. We have your determinate plants, which are your short plants which grow for a certain period of time, produce, and then they stop producing completely. These normally range within a production and a harvest period of between 2 to 3 months before they stop producing completely. Then we have your indeterminate plants which keep on growing and can continue to produce for between 6 to 12 months depending on how long the farmer maintains that crop. So when pruning your tomato plants, what are the important key things to note? With your determinate plants like this one that we have in the field today, it is important to note that you should not over prune your plant, as the canopy that forms the leaves is very important to shade your plants, to shade your fruits, and to cover the crops in terms of a way that will give you a yield and tomatoes that are healthy looking with a good quality. So when pruning your tomato plants, how do you prune them? For example, you have your determinate structure here. It is important to only prune the first few stems at the bottom. This is your main stem here. So when you are pruning now, all you have to do is to remove the first nodes, just 4 nodes from the bottom, and that's enough. And then in between you can just remove your suckers as you go. As a farmer, it is important to use certain tools for your pruning so as to avoid diseases and pests being introduced into your crop. Balimi, semphendukile ngolimi lwethu lwesiNdebele ukuthi ngilichasisele ukuthi nxa upruna ama-plants akho uyenza njani. Njengokuchasisa kwami enguchasisileyo ngesingisi, sithi lapha kuqakathekile ukuthi ukhiphe ama-nodes awuqala ayi-4 nxa upruna iplant yakho. Lawa aza kunceda ukuthi njengomlimi iplant yakho lama-leaves akho kungahlanganile enhlabathi eyabe ilamanzi. Lokhu kuqakathekile lakho ukuthi ungabonakali ususiba lo mkhuhlane ongenayo ngenhlabathi eyangaphansi. Nxa usukhipha lakho suzakhipha ama-suckers abuyayo ngaphakathi kwe-main stem yakho lamanye ama-stems lawa abuyayo ngaphakathi. Varimi, kana uchipruna plant yakho zvakakosha kuti utange wabvisa ama-nodes ako ekutanga ayaya anosvika kana 4 kana 3. Kana wabvisa aya ekutanga aya zvinokubetsera kuti ma-leaves ako kana kuti mashizha ako asasangane nevhu repasi. Izvi zvinobetsera kuti zvirwere zvisakasike kupinda mucrop rako, zvirwere nazvo zvinenge zvichibva muivhu zvigare zviri muivhu, crop rako richimbokura zvakanaka sezvo rinenge richangotanga kukurawo zvaro. Mozobvisawo ma-suckers anenge achiuya achibva pakati pe-main stem yako nemamwe ma-small stems anenge achibva pa-main stem yako. Iyo ndo pruning yakanaka. Mashizha ngaasabviswe sezvo achibetsera kuchengetedza crop yedu, anobetserawo nawo kupa mumvuri wakanaka kune maruva edu nemafruits edu kana akuzobudawo. Now farmers, like I said, tomato production is a very lucrative chain in the agricultural industry. If it's something you wish to venture into, seek your agronomic practices first, seek your agronomists. There's so many of them within the country, so many seed houses to seek your knowledge from, so that you know how to get into the chain of production with full knowledge, empowered, and knowing exactly how you can prevent your crop from losing its yield. Now, stay tuned for our second segment, Salanini Lati, Rambai Muinesu, as we delve more into tomato production, and we are joined by our farm manager here at Juggler Investments, who's going to give us more tidbits on how he has been managing these 17 hectares of this determinate crop. How are you today, Mr. Billy?
Today I'm okay. How are you, Annette?
I'm okay. Thank you for welcoming us to this vast field of tomato. It's so nice to see a crop this healthy at such a time of the year. We had rains coming in, but crop renyurukaridza kuti zvirwere zvishoma, maruva edu akutobuda, mamwe acho atova nemadomasi akutobudawo apa.
Ichokwadi unotongosimbawo pakudyara nemvura iyi. Mungoziva zvikuita mvura saka everyday spray.
Every day you're spraying something.
Day,
Absolutely.
Sure.
Hello viewers, and welcome to our second segment of Agric Connect. Salibonani balimisi, salibonani balimi. Siyalamukela usiqethu sethu esesibili u-Agric Connect. Nasi pano tine murimi wedu farm manager we Juggler Investments, Mr. Elias Billy. Mr. Elias, welcome to our show Agric Connect. Thank you for joining us. How are you today?
I'm okay. I'm good. I'm happy. Nekundishanyira kwamaita.
Aiwa tinotenda, tiri kuona mune domasi rakanaka zvekuti you have a very clean crop. Zvirwere zvishoma, handina kana chirwere chandiri kuona. Crop renyu riri kuratidza utano hwakanaka. Tinoda kuzivawo kuti muri kuzviita sei. How many hectares do you have under production izvezvi crop redu iri?
Thank you, Annette. Tine 17 hectares of this crop of tomato.
Okay.
And kuti iri domasi redu ritarisike. Riradze health. Unofanira uchispraya daily basis, as you can see. So every day I can spray about 5 hectares a day. Yeah.
Saka pamuri kuspraya dzimwe 5 hectares. I understand we have 17 hectares under production.
Sure.
Patiri kuspraya dzimwe 5, dzimwe dzacho dzasarira dzinozospraywa pane nguva yakareba sei?
It's just a day after.
Okay.
Tika spray this portion because tiri kushandisa knapsack newano andikwanisa kuisa tractor kana tomatoes asvika stage, saka munhu anodawo nguva yekuti ari kushanda mawazi akati plus anenge akabereka chigubhu ozoda kuzorora. Saka takangozvipa mutemo wekuti wakomana wangu 20 wanofanira kuspraya 5 hectares a day. The following day tichitoenda patinopedzawo that spray uku tichidzoka tukudzoka another spray
nemumwe
mushonga. Yeah.
Okay. So I understand ndo yatinoti iyo kuagronomy kwedu rotation nekuchinjanisa machemicals. Zvakakosha pachi kuti tinge tichichinjanisa machemicals aya. Chii chamunenge muchiedza kudzivirira pamuri kuchinjanisa machemicals amuri kushandisa mumunda yenyu?
Mukatarisa kumatomatoes semazwiro atinoita matomatoes ane zvirwere zvakasiyana siyana ende zvinoda mishonga yakasiyana siyana. Saka tika applyawo mushonga wechimwe chirwere nhasi, in 3 days 4 days togona kudzoka neumwe mushonga different on that thing. And kechi2 ndechekuti zvakaita like ana Tuta afano jaira mushonga 1, anoresista mushonga kana muchingospraya 1 mushonga. Saka tinofana kuroteta machemicals edu atinenge tichishandisa mumunda so that tinokwanisa kupusha kumberi kuti Tuta wacho anenge
asajairire.
Yeah.
Ndiri kuona type yedomasi yamuinaro ndo yatinoti iyo determinate type mumadomasi. Mungatitsanangurirewo here vari kuona vazive kuti patinoti determinate type tiri kureva domasi rakaita sei?
Semaonera mutori taurimi, this is a bush tomato and zvakanakira this type of tomato rinorimika muopen field arina basa netrellising kunyanya, but kuti risanyanyita basa netrellising unofanira kuridyara riri pamusoro pemabeds as you can see, so that kana rakubereka rakurasa vana vanorarira mubed
avachasangani murichi. Okay, I think that's understood. Panyaya ye harvest, how long does this variety that you have here take until a farmer can start harvesting? Uyezve rinotora nguva yakareba sei murimi achiharvesta domasi iroro?
Zvakunosiyana nekufeeda kwaunenge wakaita domasi, because the more you feed this crop ndokubereka kwarinoita vana vakawanda. Saka isusu tiri kuexpecta kutema domasi iri 5 times, but isitogona kupfuura mu5 times because amasaizi anenge akunoita aya madiki, asi amasaizi akanaka anowanika pakutema domasi redu ka5.
Okay. Saka pamuri kuharvesta ipapo muri kuramba muchiisa here mafertilizer kana kuti pano pamunomira kuisa fertilizer maakutongoharvesta chete?
Zvinoitika kudomasi pane panguva yarinenge chida chikafu, like mukatarisa izvezvi riri paflowering rinokudza rega kuti apa ndakuda chikafu, ndopaunokwanisa kuuya nemakausiyamu yako kusvika domasi iri domasi rine time yekuti riri kubereka nekufutisa vana handitika. Then pane paunozvitarisira iwe semuridzi wecrop kana kuti murimi kuti wana waberekwa neplant rangu wanenge wakwana, ndakuchida kuti wafeeda kuti wachifuta. Exactly, ndiyo unenge uchiona according necrop yako netime frame yaunenge uchida kumanage crop yako.
Saka pafeeding yamuri kutaura iyi pane mafertilizer anokodzera here panguva iyoyo seapa peflowering? Mungatudzawo kuti akakodzera kana kuti amunoshandisa imi panguva yeflowering ndeapi neamunozoisa kana mafruits enyu achitanga kubuda paya kuti anenge akamira sei mafertilizer acho? Okay. Uyezve chinoita kuti muise fertilizer iyoyo chii chinenge chakuudzai kuti muise fertilizer yakadai so?
Like ndichitangira pakudyara tinodyara the basal fertilizer, either bulk blend or cereal blend. Yeah. Pa first topping yedu isusu just after 3 weeks taona domasi redu rabata tinouya ne AN, right, number 10, cup number 10, to apply a cup number 10 yokwanisa kutopa crop yedu kuti isimuke. Okay, kana yasimuka kana domasi redu tati chovhei nayo fertilizer iyoyo, ukatasa crop yako inokuudza yega kuti crop yakudei. Like kana yasvika paflowering stage like this totanga kushandisa macalcium anotibatsira pakuti tikashandisa aya macalcium edu isusu domasi redu harizonyanyoita soft ende domasi redu harizonyanyoita mvura kana kuti harizonyanyoora, hatichafanira kunge tichishandisa top
rinenge ragwinya rasimba
chokwadi. saka ndo zvatinoshandisa kuti domasi redu rizokwanisa kugara mumarket for yeah.
ndo yatinoti shelf life yaya kana
exactly.
takutaura nyaya yemavariety.
Exactly.
Okay, aiwa tiri kupanzwisisa. Pamuri kudyara apa muri kuita soil sampling test after every crop cycle kana kuti munongoziva imimi kuti ivhu redu radzikira pamanutrients akadai kana kuti pese pamuri kuisa crop pamuchingobvisa muri kubva maongorora futi ivhu renyu kuti muone kuti chisimo muivhu renyu ndechipi.
Chakakosha munhau dzefarming warimi ndechekuti kuti uzive kuti crop yakati ndikaidyara pakati inoita inyaya yesoil testing.
Okay.
Ndo inotanga kutokuudza zvekuziva kuti uzive kuti apa amanutrients amashoma kana kuti
inyaya yesoil testing.
Inyaya yesoil testing. Saka kugara wakatesta ivhu rako nezviri kudiwa nevhu nekufidhawo iro ivhu racho riri kutodawo kutofidwa. Usati wafidha crop yako tanga wafidha ivhu racho. Rowa rinofara, rowa rakabatana. Ivhu rikasaita stress rinokwanisa kupawo plant yako chikafu chakanaka. Exactly.
Mr. Billy, that was quite an informative segment with you. Thank you so much for sharing all that knowledge that you have on tomato production and how you are bringing up such an excellent crop. Thank you so much for also inviting us to your farm. It seems to be budding and doing extremely well. We're hopeful that it will encourage some of our farmers to actually get into this enterprise with the knowledge that they have from their agronomy expertise. Thank you so much for having us and keep on doing what you're doing to feed the nation.
Thank you, Anit.
So there you have it, farmers. A lucrative enterprise that you can also get into, tomato production. Somebody here is doing 17 hectares of tomato production and is maintaining such a healthy crop. I think if he can do it, then you can too. Thank you for joining us on this segment of Agric Connect. Join us on the next segment to hear more from our expertise on how you can manage and bring up an excellent tomato crop, just as Mr. Billy has shown us here. Valati namhla kusegment yethu leyi eka Agric Connect. Tinokutendai varimi, tinokutendai varimisi, tinokutendai maviewers edu nekuva nesu nasi pa segment yedu yeAgric Connect. Hello farmers, hello viewers, and welcome to our third segment on tomato production here on Agric Connect. Today we are joined by expert Lucy Zarea, who is going to share with us some tidbits as an expert on tomato production. Going into winter, we have a few farmers who desire to take the risk to go into tomato production and actually maximize and capitalize on the market value and the market price that is generally very high and generally very good during winter production. Lucy, thank you for joining us today on tomato production again here on Agric Connect. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, and thank you for having me.
Lovely. So Lucy, we're going into winter at the moment, and farmers have the decision to make of what crop they are going to put in going into the season that we're stepping into. We realize that there are few crops that do well during this particular season, and farmers are limited to a few lines that they can actually specialize in within the horticultural chain. So today here, discussing tomato production, we just want to hear from you what you think about the aspect of tomato production during the winter period that we are stepping into, and what advice can you give farmers going into this period who would like to take that risk of going into tomato production during this season?
Okay, they say no risk, no reward. So I believe farmers who can succeed in this winter production are likely to meet good market prices, and they may make more profits. However, they have to look at different aspects that include the timing. So ndinokurudzira kuti kana pane varimi vari kuronga kurima madomasi, panguva ino vanofanira kunge vari kutodyara kana kuti vange vakadyara kuitira kuti panozotanga chando madomasi avo ange ave pastage iri nani. So nguva ino ndiyo nguva yekutoita ma-advanced preparations solutions ekurima madomasi. Tadaro zvakare tinoonawo kuti kwave nemabiostimulants ariko, machemicals ariko anogona kusprayiwa madomasi medu. Haazoprevente 100% kuti asarohwe nechando, asi mukana wekuti madomasi edu arohwe nechando unenge wave kure kana tikamashandisa. So ndinoencouragewo varimi kuti vatsvage ruzivo, vawanewo zvavangaite kuti vaprevent. Neavo vanokwanisawo kunge vane magreenhouses, they can also continue their production mumagreenhouses avo.
Okay, that is very informative, Lucy. So you mentioned the aspect of greenhouse production, and I understand we also have the open field production. Inova iyo yekuti varimi vedu vanenge vachiisa domasi out in the open. Is there a key difference in putting your tomatoes in the greenhouse at this particular time of the season and putting them out in the open field for our farmers out there?
Yes, definitely. In this season, in this winter season, that's when greenhouse farmers benefit more, because the temperatures in the greenhouses are usually higher than the temperatures on the open field, and the chances of kuti varimi vanorimira magreenhouse varohwe nechando anenge ari slightly lower than vanenge vachirima panze pa open field. So you will see that greenhouse farmers, even in terms of their cost, they benefit more during this time.
Okay, and in terms of hectarage or the amount of tomato that they can actually put in out in the open field, anoisa domasi rake out in the open field anenge aine a higher advantage here than anoisa mu greenhouse, seeing as the cost of actually erecting a greenhouse might be higher. So preference yema farmers might lean more towards your open field production. Pane zvavangaita here outside of use of biostimulants kuti domasi rinenge riri mu open field ribetserekane risarohwe nechando zvakanyanya?
Yes, definitely. Like you've mentioned, the cost of setting up greenhouse is high, and you see most of our farmers do open field varieties. So giving advice to them is they can water their crops towards the evening. I've seen some farmers also burning cow dung, but then when we look at the environmental benefits, we might have a bit of conflict there.
Absolutely.
Yes, but smoke can also help to reduce the freezing point. And yeah, so those are some of the they can also grow cover crops around their fields that can prevent the movement of the air into the field.
So Lucy, tell us more about the reference to what we call indeterminate types of tomatoes and determinate types of tomatoes. We understand these are two different segments of the tomato types which have different growth habits. Can you share with our farmers so they become more learned on these two different tomato types and how well they can grow them both in the open field and in the greenhouse during the season we're getting into now?
All right. So what we have noticed is with most Zimbabwean farmers, they prefer determinate tomato varieties on the open field. Pachishona tinenge tichiti madeterminate ndo madomasi edu anoita kabush anyanyoreba kuenda mudenga, anenge ane tingati tinomasiya ane mabranches akawanda achingobereka akadaro. And then kana tichitaura zvema indeterminate tomatoes, tutaura madomasi anowanzorimwa nevakawanda mugreenhouse, ayo anoreba kuenda mudenga, anogona kutoreba kusvika ku6 meters. Anorimwa zvakare pa open field, they are not restricted to the greenhouse only. However, we have noticed that their performance inotidzikirei kana takamaisa pa open field. But these two produce more yield than the determinate tomato varieties. Then toyopa kutenga mbeu yacho, mutengo wema indeterminate unenge uri pamusoro pane madeterminate varieties.
So if I'm a farmer anga achirima zvake determinate type yake iyo yatinoti bush type ihi, obviously I'm using a trellising system kana kuti kwatinoti kuisira matanda anova yo support system yemadomasi. Am I expected to have a different type of trellising system for the indeterminate type of tomato? Inosiyana here support yemadomasi ayaya pane indeterminate nepane determinate type of tomato?
Zvechokwadi trellising inosiyana kana kuti support yatinopa madomasi aya inosiyana. You will see kuti when you look at determinate anowanzobatwa netambo mumaside achikura ari pakati petambo. But if we look at indeterminate, usually they require a line on top and then you put trellising twine ichikwira kuenda mudenga. But tinowanzodzidzisa varimi tinoti anoda kuisirwa waya kunge yekuyanika hembe inenge iri pamusoro iwo achibata achikura achienda mudenga. Saka varimi kana vafunga kuchinja the type of tomato yavari kurima vanochinja zvakare support yavanomapa.
Okay, I think our farmers are definitely learning a lot. As an expert, I'm sure language inoshandiswa pa kutaura nyaya dzemacrops hainotisiyani. So I'm sure now our farmers know what a determinate type of tomato is and what an indeterminate type of tomato is. Just to wrap up our segment, Lucy, with your very informative expert advice, what would your word be to our farmers as a going away tip for winter farming and tomato production? What would you say to our farmers out there to help them to maximize on their production and yield as they step into this season and try to capitalize on tomato production in winter?
I want to give confidence to farmers who took the risk of doing tomato production this winter. There's climate change and you never know, it might work on your side. As the last word, I just encourage you to check out on your pests and diseases. Make sure you're fully stocked of your chemicals. Watch out on the weather, follow the weather report, and check on the nights that you have the most frost, and then you can take your preventative measures.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I think we've just increased the amount of hectarage of winter production in tomato from the confidence that you've given our farmers that they can actually do it. There you have it, farmers. Our expert advice from Lucy Zarea on winter tomato production. She says herself that where there is no risk, there is no reward. So we hope to see an increase in the number of farmers that will take up winter production and actually increase the amount of availability of tomato during this particular winter season. Thank you very much, Lucy, for joining us, and we hope to have you soon in our future segments and episodes here on Agric Connect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, farmers, for joining us on this last segment and this episode of Agric Connect, where we were touching on tomato production with our expert, Lucy Zarea. I think you got as much as I did out of this, and we learned a few tidbits on how we can get into winter production and maximize on the production of tomatoes during the winter period as farmers. Tinokutendai varimi vedu nekuva nesu nhasi pane chikamu chino ichi chetomato production pano pa Agric Connect. Siyalibonga abalaleli, siyalibonga ababukeli ngokuba lathi namhla usiqethule sise tomato production lapha ku Agric Connect.